In my past life, my brother Ethan was adopted by the wealthy Hayes family, while I was taken in by a janitor. The Hayes household, however, was rife with internal strife. His adoptive parents were distant. His sister Olivia relentlessly bullied him, and ultimately he was left with nothing. My life was the opposite. My adoptive family was warm and loving, and Olivia the Hazirus fell for me, the boy from the wrong side of the tracks. It was straight out of a storybook consolé by Hattie. We were both reborn, sent back to the day of our adoption. This time he scrambled to choose the janitor. Alex, he declared, this time the storybook hero is me. What he didn't grasp was that being the protagonist was never about where you came from. My brother and I were reborn together. Back to the day we were adopted from the orphanage. Two families stood in the director's office, the Hayes and the Millers. The three members of the Hayes family were impeccably dressed. Their only daughter, Olivia, was in her high school uniform, but sported a pair of globally limited edition designer sneakers. This was the most prominent family in Maple Creek. Mr. Hayes was a business tycoon, whose companies contributed the largest share of the city's taxes. Mrs. Hayes was a socialite, frequently seen at jewelry auctions and charity galas, mingling with celebrities. Their daughter Olivia was known simply as the heiress of Maple Creek. In stark contrast, the Millers beside them looked worn down. Both the man and woman had hands marked by manual labor. They had likely chosen their best clothes, but faint sweat stains remained. According to the director, the couple both worked at Maple Creek High. The husband was a custodian, the wife a janitor. In our previous life, Ethan had chosen the Hayes family without hesitation, but now almost afraid of being left behind, he threw himself into the janitor's arms. "Mom, take him a visit. Even to be your son," he quit out. "From now on, call me Ethan Miller." Amidst Ethan's excited shouts, I walked towards the Hayes family. Just like that, the choices were made. We were led away by our respective families. As I left the orphanage, I overheard the director murmuring to herself, "Strange. Ethan was always the ambitious one. He wouldn't even look at potential adopters. If they seemed ordinary, why would he turn down a truly wealthy family like the Hayes?" The director didn't understand, but I did. Last time Ethan schemed his way into being adopted by the Hayes family, becoming Ethan Hayes, he thought a life of luxury awaited him. Plus, having Olivia, the heiress of Maple Creek, as his sister seemed like a dream. Living under the same roof, feelings could easily blossom. However, Ethan never imagined that Olivia, far from being a gentle older sister, would despise him utterly. "I hate opportunistic people the most," she'd said. "Don't think you can say I told you. You're just a suck-up after our family's money." At home, Olivia tormented Ethan. At school, she led her clique in bullying him. Even when Mr. and Mrs. Hayes found out, they offered only mild rebukes. They felt no real affection for Ethan. They had adopted him solely because a fortune teller told Mr. Hayes that adopting a son would bring him good luck. For the next decade, between their biological daughter and an adopted son, the Hayes naturally favored their own blood. While Olivia bullied Ethan, she treated me, adopted by the Millers, with surprising kindness. She saw me receiving financial aid, consistently ranking first in exams, studying during the day, and helping my adoptive mother with her janitorial work. At night, living a hard life without complaint. "This Alex kid, he's actually kind of interesting," she mused. Just like in a TV drama, the rebellious rich girl fell for the resilient poor boy. Later, when Mr. and Mrs. Hayes passed away, Olivia brought in a team of lawyers. During the inheritance settlement, Ethan was completely cut out, left penniless. A few months later, Olivia married me. At our wedding, she even publicly declared, "Alex, what's mine is yours from now on." Unfortunately, I never got to enjoy Olivia's wealth. A few days later, Ethan, driven mad by despair and jealousy, ran me down with his car. Returning to this life, Ethan unhesitatingly chose the Millers. No vast fortune, but no scheming or backstabbing either. He could bask in his parents' wholehearted love, growing up in a happy family. And because of his humble background, he'd capture the sympathy and protection of the heiress, eventually winning a fairy tale wedding. He smiled at me. Alex, this time you get to be the fairy tale hero. It's your turn to taste everything I went through. Ethan wasn't wrong. In fact, Olivia's bullying started even earlier. This time at school, my head was shoved into a sink basin, surrounded by the sneering laughter of a group of boys. Just as I was about to lose consciousness from lack of air, someone grabbed the back of my neck and pulled me up. Olivia grinned down at me. Want our family's money? Sure, she said sweetly. Drink the water from that toilet. Von Grop IJV you 10%. How about it? Her followers hooted excitedly. I looked at Olivia, the person who had gently professed her love for me in our past life, was now venting her malice on me without restraint. But Olivia wasn't looking at me. Her gaze went past me towards the space behind. I knew Ethan was there, bent over scrubbing the floor. Isn't that Ethan Miller? Someone asked. Why is he mopping the floor? One of the lackeys informed Olivia. His mom's a janitor here. He studies during the day and helps her work at night. A flicker of shock lit up Olivia's eyes. She yelled towards Ethan, hey, it's freezing out. Stop scrubbing. Nobody checks anyway. Ethan straightened up. His handsome face set in a stubborn expression. He shook his head. I can't if someone inspects and the floor isn't clean. Mom will get docked $100. I know $100 is nothing to a rich girl like you, but for my family it's my food money for a week. With that, Ethan bent down and continued scrubbing. His ploy was obvious, really. Of all the floors, he chose to scrub this one right in front of Olivia. He even angled himself perfectly to look his best. Unfortunately for him, Olivia fell for it completely. She strode over, pulled Ethan up, snatched the rag from his hand, and tossed it to one of her followers. You guys finish mopping this for him. She glanced at Ethan's hands, red from the cold, then impulsively draped her own coat over his shoulders. Slate, who are you getting home by bike? You ride your bike in this court. Olivia was aghast, then commanded, wait downstairs. I'll have my driver take you home. Ethan left under Olivier's protection. Before leaving, he shot a quick, triumphant smirk back at my miserable self. Moments later, everyone dispersed, leaving me alone by the sinks. I struggled to my feet, wiping the dripping water from my hair with my sleeve. Use this, a cool voice sounded behind me. I turned. It was Sophia Bell, our class president. She was a quiet girl who studied diligently and always wore long sleeves, regardless of the season. In our past life, she had also tried to help Ethan when he was being bullied. She had offered him a towel and urged him to report Olivia's bullying. But Ethan had slapped her hand away. What do you know, Tats Mazesta? Back then, Ethan was still dreaming of making Olivia fall for him. So Sophia stopped interfering and retreated back into her silent solitude. Later, near graduation, Sophia took her own life. Only then did we learn how desperately poor her family was. Her grandmother was chronically ill, and her father was a gambler who not only abused her constantly, but also planned to sell her to pay off his debts. Now she stood beside me holding out a clean towel. I hesitated, then took it. She didn't say anything more and turned to leave, probably thinking there was nothing to say to a rich kid like me. Just as her figure was about to disappear, I suddenly called out, Sophia. Her steps paused. He scratched my head. I just transferred here. Still don't know my way around. Can you show him at? 4 dishes and a soup sat on the cafeteria table. Braised ribs, steamed egg with minced meat, cola chicken wings, stir-fried greens and clam, and wintermelon soup. Maple Creek High's cafeteria food was known for being excellent. He scratched my head again. I accidentally ordered too much. Waste is shameful. You probably haven't eaten dinner either, right? Join me. Sophia remained silent for a moment before finally picking up her chopsticks and eating in small bites. I glanced at her wrists, peeking out from her uniform sleeves. Thin and fragile girls like Sophia truly needed help, but they didn't show weakness, didn't cry out in pain. So they often became unnoticed weeds in the landscape of teenage memories. This life, I wouldn't just save myself, I'd save her too. My mind made up, I spoke. Manconic sections are so hard. I don't understand them at all. Sophia, you're great at studying. Who about you two to aim? Sophia, mid-bite on a rib, looked at me with a shocked expression. That clearly said, are we even friends? I didn't give her a chance to refuse. Great, it's decided then, I'll pay you tutor fees. I gave Sophia part of my allowance, calling it an advance payment for tutoring. She stared at the thick envelope filled with $100 bills, too shocked to speak, whether in the past life or this one. The Hayes family never skimped on basic necessities, an allowance for their adopted son. But what was pocket change to Olivia was enough for Sophia to buy medicine for her grandmother, pay hospital bills, and even rented a small apartment off campus to escape her abusive father. After arranging the tutoring, time for the next day with Sophia, I went home. The luxurious villa was empty. Mr. Hayes was out for business engagements, Mrs. Hayes at the spa. As for Olivia, she was likely having dinner at the Miller's place right now. In the previous life, Olivia had her driver take me home. My adoptive Miller parents saw this and enthusiastically invited her in for dinner. Then, just like a standard plot point in a drama, that one dinner allowed the heiress, accustomed to a cold, wealthy upbringing, to experience the warmth and affection of a poor family. The Millers always had simple smiles on their faces. The small, worn-out apartment, filled with the bustle of everyday life, fascinated Olivia, making her fonder of the poor boy who came from such a home. Right now, she and Ethan were probably eating a simple meal, but both likely felt happy. I slowly changed into my Hermes pajamas, ate the bird's nest soup the maid brought, and let a cold smirk play on my lips. No one knew that the Millers, though poor, were far from simple. The couple had always longed to latch onto a wealthy family. Seeing Olivia drive their son home sent their blood boiling with excitement. They immediately dragged her inside and treated her like royalty. The supposed affection, the supposed warmth, it was all a performance. After all, to win over an heiress, those were the only assets they had. And in my past life, when I told them I didn't want to marry Olivia, my adoptive mother locked me in my room, while my adoptive father beat me half to death with a table leg and a belt. Ethan thought he had entered paradise. This time, he didn't know there was no true paradise on earth. The Hayes family was a gilded hell. The Miller family was a poor one, who could crawl out alive, depended entirely on their own abilities. In the following days, Olivia's malice intensified. The lunchbox, prepared for me by the maid, would be filled with thumbtacks. When I opened it, dead spiders were squeezed into my face. Wash and toothpaste. My clothes in the closet were burned with cigarette holes, and whenever I looked up startled, I met Olivia's wicked grin. She mouthed silently, "Alex Hayes, you deserve this." Olivia expected me to cry, but I just calmly dumped the thumbtacks, threw the spiders in the trash, and folded the damaged clothes away. Then the smile vanished from Olivia's face. She stared daggers at me, her voice almost a snarl. "Let's see how long you can pretend." Thankfully, this time, while enduring Olivia's malice, I also had access to the Hayes family's resources. I no longer had to study during the day and be forced to help my adoptive mother work at night. Instead, a maid took care of me, a driver chauffeured me around, and I could focus solely on my studies. In my past life, buying extra study materials required saving for ages, constantly wary of my adoptive father confiscating my money for his own drinking and gambling. Now, my closet held numerous designer clothes and sneakers, gifts from Mrs. Hayes that cost me nothing. On top of that, I received $5,000 in cash allowance and a credit card with a $10,000 limit each month if I ran out. A quick word to the housekeeper meant more money would be deposited within half an hour. The hardships I endured previously now fell entirely on Ethan. I saw him sleeping through classes because he wasn't getting enough sleep, helping his adoptive mother at night. Gradually, he stopped doing homework and started handing in blank exam papers. In my past life, I survived on black coffee, sometimes stabbing myself with a compass to stay awake, fighting desperately to study. But Ethan had lived a pampered life. Last time he lacked that drive and perseverance. Besides, he didn't care about academics. In his view, becoming Olivia Hayes' fiancé was far more valuable than getting into Harvard or Yale. So Ethan poured all his energy into making Olivia like him more. He tuned out math class. Secretly writing diary entries meant only for Olivia. He skipped group dance rehearsals, sneaking off campus with Olivia to go for drives and stargaze in the countryside. Then came the eve of the group dance performance. He sat outside the rehearsal room crying. I suspect Ethan specifically studied how male leads cry in dramas. Head tilted at a 45-degree angle towards the sky, tears welling up but stubbornly refusing to fall. Naturally, Olivia happened to walk by. The moment Olivia asked him what was wrong, the tears Ethan had held back finally fell. Olivia, I lost my spot in the performance. Everyone else gets to be on stage, but Alex specifically excluded me. Olivia, already despising me, flared up. Why? Ethan bit his lip, trying hard to stop crying but still managing a sob. He said, my mom's just a janitor. My dad's just a custodian. He said I can't even afford the costume, that I don't deserve to be on stage. Olivia's expression grayed DACA. She looked at Ethan, who was sobbing uncontrollably, and said softly, it's just a costume. I'll buy it for you. Ethan shook his hat, full of Zarathustra's Parade of Apoius. No, it costs $800. I can't accept such an expensive gift from you. Olivia was both furious and heartbroken. Cute are Alex highs. She burst out. Ethan just shook his head tearfully. He's your brother after all. Several buildings at school were donated by your family, and your father is an honorary board member. Even if the teachers know he's bullying me, what can they do? Ethan failed to notice a reporter visiting the school for an interview, passing behind him, leaning in like a shark smelling blood. The reporter keenly asked, bullying? What's bullying? Just like that, things blew up. The school's largest conference room was packed. The principal, vice principal, dean of students, homeroom Tiaga, reporters from various newspapers. Both the Hayes and Miller parents were present. Mr. and Mrs. Miller stood protectively around a tear-streaked Ethan. In a corner, faces etched with grievance and anger. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes initially hadn't wanted to come when they heard it was just me in trouble. Only when they learned that even the newly appointed head of the Education Bureau was attending did they rush over. Maple Creek High was the city's top high school, a model institution for the Education Bureau. Mr. Heiss, clearly Niesborg chief. Upon entering, he smoothly approached him. Director Lee, I can't believe such a small matter brought you here. Personally, it's really just kids squabbling. But the bureau chief was stern and unswayed. Mr. Hayes, bullying is never a small matter. I know Alex is your family's child, but to me every child here is a student, a sapling. With the conversation framed like that, Mr. Hayes couldn't press further. He managed a smile. Yes, we weren't aware of the details. Please investigate thoroughly. Returning to Mrs. Hayes' side, they exchanged a silent glance. If the bullying accusation stuck, the Hayes would immediately abandon me. This adopted son, they had no feelings for. Cutting all ties if Mr. and Mrs. Hayes felt that way. Olivia's stance was even clearer. She stood beside the constantly sobbing Ethan, whispering words of comfort, occasionally lifting her dark eyes to shoot a cold glance my way. Seeing everyone assembled, the principal addressed Ethan. Ethan, please tell us what happened. Ethan raised his red, swollen eyes, and softly repeated the story he told Olivia. The reporters were already indignant. One spoke up first. Our preliminary investigation shows Alex Hayes and Ethan Miller were friends from the same orphanage. Once like brothers later. Alex was adopted by the Hayes Corporation family, while Ethan's adoptive parents are just ordinary school employees. Alex Hayes does entering a wealthy family give you the right to bully your former friend and steal opportunities that belong to him? The reporter's eyes were fixed on me, camera lights blinking incessantly. Ivanovant had a scoop. This was a sensitive social issue. In a society with increasingly rigid class structures, if children of the wealthy were snatching educational resources, from poor students, blocking their upward mobility. It could ignite significant public outrage, especially when the story involved protagonists like Ethan and me. Such a dramatic contrast. In the pin-drop silence of the office, I suddenly let out a chuckle. It was abrupt. The reporters looked at each other. "Excuse me, reporter," I said calmly. "I read that journalists need to cross-verify information and fact-check their sources. Are we now skipping standard procedures just to rush out a sensational story?" The reporter's face turned crimson. I stood up coolly, pointing at Ethan. "Right now he's the only source. Everything is based on his side of the story." I looked at Ethan, pale from crying. I did once consider you a brother. But you killed him out of jealousy in the last life. This life you're climbing by framing me. If I destroy you now, you brought it on yourself. Since the reporter asked me, let me tell you what I know. He thinks we started the same. That he's even better looking and smarter than me. So why do I get a better life now? His jealousy turned to hatred. So he fabricated this story to frame me. As soon as I finished, Olivia interjected. That's not true. She wanted to say that Ethan had chosen the poor Miller family voluntarily. Therefore he couldn't be materialistic. And my claim was clearly twisting the facts. But before she could finish, the office door was pushed open forcefully. A slender figure stood in the doorway. Short hair silent like an inconspicuous weed. Our homeroom teacher recognized her. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" In the previous life, Sophia would have already taken her own life by now. But this life she survived. Step by step, Sophia walked in and stood beside me. She spoke softly. "I'm here to testify." Her entrance was so sudden that the reporters took a moment to react. Someone asked, "Young lady, are you here to testify that Alex Hayes bullied Ethan Miller?" Judging by her clothes, Sophia clearly wasn't wealthy. She seemed more like Ethan's peer. Sophia glanced at the questioner and shook her head. "I'm here to testify for Alex Hayes." I looked at Sophia in surprise. Honestly, I had prepared extensively for this confrontation. But Sophia was not one of the witnesses I had arranged. After all, our relationship wasn't particularly close. After I gave her the money last time, she researched current tutoring rates, calculated the costs based on an hour per day, and returned all the excess cash to me. She tutored me in math for exactly 1 hour each day, then promptly packed her bag and left, like some pre-programmed AI robot. Last life, Sophia jumped off a building. Before the college entrance exams, her entire hope rested on getting into a good university and earning money quickly to treat her grandmother's illness. But a month before the exams, her father lost badly gambling, drank several bottles of cheap liquor, and came home to give Sophia the worst beating of her life. Her right hand, the one she wrote with, was broken. No one knew what else her father did that day. What else the battered Sophia endured. The next time people saw her, the perpetually silent girl had already jumped from the rooftop. This life, even though Sophia and I hadn't become friends, I still wanted to save her. So I hired 2 thugs to beat her father badly. Enough to land him in the hospital. This way, at least until after the exams, the man couldn't abuse her. To plan this meticulously, I uncharacteristically skipped an evening study session. When I returned, Sophia, who was responsible for attendance, caught me red-handed. "Why did you skip evening study?" she asked. I scratched my head, desperately trying to think of an excuse. I looked perfectly healthy. I couldn't very well tell her. "Skip class to arrange for your dad to get beaten up." Just then the school receptionist called out, "Sophia, phone call for you." It was news about her father. 5 minutes later, Sophia returned, her face still impassive. She picked up the attendance sheet again, then put it down. "I won't record it this time," she said calmly. "Don't be upset again." That moment, I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly returned to my seat to study. Now, as Sophia calmly stated, "I'm here to testify for Alex Hayes." I realized she probably knew. Facing the room full of eyes, Sophia pulled out a stack of forms and placed them on the table. Ethan's face instantly turned sheet white. According to school rules, Using the group dance rehearsal room required filling out a form, date-time names of users, but enforcement was lax. Filling them out was tedious, so eventually almost no one bothered. Most just gave the